As a kid, I used to hear about the story of Robin Hood. Robin Hood is this mythological character that did two things that was very important. He was a thief, but he was a good thief. Robin Hood used to go and steal from the rich, which was the first thing he did. But when he stole from the rich, he didn't really keep it to himself. He only stole from the rich to do the second thing, to give all of it to the poor. And when you think about it, it's a really great thing to do. Take things from people who have everything and give it to those who have nothing. And when you think about, characters like Robin Hood, we really have an admiration for that kind of spirit. But let's get into real life, because there is a hatred for rich people. We believe that rich people get their money from greed, or rich people are corrupt, and some are corrupt, and some are getting their money from sources that cannot be verified, illegal activities. But for the majority of Americans that make their money, black or otherwise, getting rich typically takes a lot of hard work, ingenuity, and staying the course. Like, there's so many stories of people who become rich through their 401k. I read a story of some secretary that ended up with like $8 million in assets after just, investing. So people who are rich get there typically through hard work. And I do understand that people who are rich have a greater responsibility to help those out who are less fortunate. And I get that. They pay more taxes, they give more to the government. Makes sense. But what if I were to tell you that somebody could use that narrative just to lie? Would you believe me? Rewind. Let's talk about Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, who has done everything to convince people not to trust him. Want to talk about lying? Want to talk about presenting false truths? Nobody does that better than Brandon Johnson. Promising one thing, delivering something else that you didn't ask for. Imagine going to Burger King, you want to get a Whopper, somebody brings you out a pizza. You'd be like, what the? I didn't even know y'all sold pizzas. That's Brandon Johnson. He never gives you what you want. He gives you what he feels you should have. But anyways, let's get back to this thing. So now Brandon Johnson is pleading for his political life. He's trying to defend himself at every chance. Like, there's this clip of him going to a bingo hall, trying to get cool with the older black ladies up there because he's mad.
067.
It's a favorite for politicians, a way to reach a reliable voting constituency, a bingo game for seniors. Today, someone not on the ballot again for another 3 years, Mayor Brandon Johnson stopped by.
Over these first 10 months, I've had the privilege of serving the greatest city in the world.
Then there's Brandon Johnson defending his poor 1 year of service as mayor and defending all his BS actions.
We've been very consistent with our message from the very beginning. When I announced my candidacy over a year ago, I said we were going to eliminate sub-minimum wage. We did that. I said we're going to pass paid time off. We did that. I said we're going to invest more in youth employment. We've done that. I said we're committed to hiring more detectives. We're doing that.
Brandon Johnson is desperate as a person that ran out of airtime with no money. He will do anything to pay his Metro PCS bill, if you know what I'm talking about. So this next thing he wants to do is implement this new tax. Bring Chicago home. Now, yeah, give a round of applause. That sounds like a very positive thing, right? Bring Chicago home. Yeah, I want to hear more about that. Play that clip.
First, a rare binding referendum is on the ballot for voters in Chicago.
It is called the Bring Chicago Home Tax. Tia Ewing is in Studio 32 with what you need to know before you head to the polls. Tia.
Well, Sylvia and Terrence, this referendum would increase a one-time tax on property sales over $1 million and decrease it for property valued under that amount. Supporters say the money raised would then be used to help Chicago's homeless population.
We're asking Chicago to get ready to vote for the future. A future where children are not sleeping on trains. A future where parents are not having to struggle whether or not they have to pick up their clothes and move from a shelter and wake up in places that they do not know.
Now, here's a question. Is there a downside, though, to this referendum? The Illinois Realtors is rolling out this ad against Bring Chicago Home. The CEO says if it passes, it would have an impact on renters, homeowners, and even small businesses.
That's right. Bring Chicago Home is something that punishes people in the city that got more money. So if you have a house worth $1 million, you're gonna pay more tax than somebody who don't have a house that's less than that. So that money will be given to, you know what, help the city. Well, again, would you trust him? I mean, what do you think has been going on with the spending in Chicago? That's with the city's money, not federal money, the city's money. Well, let's play a clip here and we'll find out what's going on with their money.
These invoices obtained by NBC5 Investigates show employees of a private company, Favorite Staffing, which run the city's migrant shelters, have made at least $135 an hour, in some cases more. In one invoice, a facility manager made $14,000 in a week in December. Another invoice shows a nurse earned more than $20,000 in 1 week. Those figures do account for overtime.
To see invoices like that are disgusting. They're outrageous, and they should be cause for an immediate investigation.
Do you have an accounting for all the dollars are going?
No, we haven't been, and I think that's the big concern that came up today was that we're willing to accept federal dollars, we're willing to give dollars to these issues, but we need to see where every penny is spent.
Oh, yeah, Brandon Johnson, it's not looking good. And what about other things, Brandon? Like, you know, you have these migrant shelters you're now closing down, but I don't think that you're telling the truth. I don't think anybody should believe you. And I think that we need to go back into some of the people who voted for you who don't trust you now. Remember this young black man who voted for you and then this happened?
Hey, good morning, good morning. I find it courageous, the way the man speak. I know y'all think it's entertaining, and a lot of us bow our heads to it because we convicted by it. But we losing in this city, black people. I'm the young black man that love black people. I'm the young black man that's wild about black people. But I'm also the young black man in the city that's being underserved, mistreated, and just basically made to be invisible. I've been attacked in this city, shot multiple times. I've been pushed to the side by law enforcement. For what reason, I don't know. I'm attacked by judges. For what reason, I don't know. I guess it's for speaking up for black people. That's the only thing I could think about. But we just received new representation in Brandon Johnson. I was like, yeah, we got a smart black man in the school board, all these little different things. I was like, yeah. But then I think about other things.
Yeah, Brandon. You see, what Brandon did was when he became mayor, Chicago became somewhat of a sanctuary city, like New York City. And under the directives of the federal government, they sent a lot of those migrants to Chicago. So Brandon Johnson really couldn't stop that because even Texas couldn't stop that technically. But again, you know, he didn't deliver on anything that he was talking about according to Chicago residents that I know. So now you're saying this tax money could be used to help people in the city. What about those houses that were in the black community and you guys wouldn't renovate them? You know, but when the migrants came in, you did this.
And with the housing situation, we're noticing now the city of Chicago has been scrambling to really find places for them to go. So they're making deals with landowners. And the problem with that is that in the black community, there's a lot of absent landowners, and they've left dilapidated properties in our neighborhoods. We have fought for years to try to get those dilapidated properties to come back into the community. And now all of a sudden, now that there's this money falling from out the sky for migrants, these landowners are now using the money to renovate to allow migrants to get in. Let me give you an example. This one landowner in South Shore has a 8-unit building, designated 8-unit building. This man was allowed by the city of Chicago to turn this 8-unit building into a bed for 69 migrants. And he's already have a history of being a slum landlord. So we're now beginning to see that they're prioritizing migrants in housing and then also utilizing land that really should be renovated and brought back into the community for community use.
That's right. You moved the migrants into the black community. You then renovated houses with slum landlords to give them money. And you didn't give a damn So the thing is, even if this tax goes through, it's no reason to re-elect you based on that, because first of all, that's silly. If I'm a homeowner in Chicago, you're making me pay higher taxes. What evidence has Brandon Johnson showed he can use that tax money to do things for the city of Chicago? I mean, you have so many problems in Chicago, like gunshots, yeah, like violence, like police spending, like things like that, crime. You know, you have single parent homes in Chicago. You know, you need more jobs. You have jobs leaving the city. I mean, do you remember the last mayor when you had big corporations like Walmart and other places leaving Chicago like this?
Thanks, Mayor. There have been a number of high-profile corporate departures from Chicago, like Boeing moving to Virginia, Citadel moving earlier this summer. What impact do you think that those departures will have on budget revenues, and what is the city doing to keep corporate headquarters?
Little to none. What I think you also need to report is the number of corporations that have moved into Chicago that have made these investments. We had over 173 companies last year make pro-Chicago decisions. That's either moving here and relocating from someplace else or expanding their footprint in Chicago. We're on the same pace and may exceed that number this year.
So that bring the Chicago home tax is not gonna do anything, especially when a lot of people in Chicago just can't afford a goddamn house. The thing is, you need people that are in the office of mayor or whatever they're gonna do to do what they actually say they're gonna do. Brandon Johnson is not gonna do what he said he's gonna do. Brandon Johnson will do anything that makes his life better on the behalf of making somebody else's life worse. Let me just be honest, you can't trust him. He's a liar. Everybody knows he's a liar. That's why Chicago is turning red, like Georgia's going back red again. Everybody's going to Republican because they hate these particular situations in which they're being ignored from their own vote. And so anything that a Democrat proposes to blacks in Chicago can't be trusted. You're seeing everything go down. You're seeing your quality of life go down. You're seeing Walmart leave. You're seeing bigger corporations leave. You're seeing prices go up. You don't see opportunities. You see migrants taking your opportunities when you pay taxes and they don't pay anything. You're housing people who can't even house you. And in some cases, they're creating so much crime in the city. You know, not every migrant, but you know, you have some people that are in those criminal gangs. They gotta survive. And guess what you're getting as a black Chicagoan? You ain't getting jack. So who do you vote for? Did you trust him with this bill? I wouldn't. Bring Chicago home. That's an interesting name because he already showed you who he was going to bring into your home. What is he going to do next? The same thing he's been doing, which is lying. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy, Shooty Jackson. Back at it again. Another episode here. I'm out.